there's an endemic in America of bad bars. And by that, I mean almost every bar in the U.S. is terrible. I mean no offense.
As a world traveler, you would probably know that.
It is just, I don't get it. Like, why does every bar need to have 17 TV screens and those big stools and the high top tables and the exact same setup?
Hey, I'm Matt Osterman, host of the Propellant Podcast, and today we're taking a tour into the mind of John O'Sullivan. John is best known for his entertaining one-minute virtual tours he presents on TikTok and other platforms. His presence really blew up over COVID when he was doing virtual tours from Australia, but when he returned to his home state of Minnesota, he kept that train rolling and is now one of the best short content creators around. We talk about how he accidentally became a tour guide and met his future wife because of a volcano, getting canceled in Australia, blowing up in Minnesota, what makes a good tour, and the reality and future of creating content for social media. John is honest, exceedingly likable, and with no surprise, a really good storyteller. Please enjoy my conversation with John O'Sullivan. But before we start, we have a favor to ask. If you happen to enjoy the show, we'd love it if you could like and subscribe on whatever platform you happen to be getting this from. We put a lot of work into putting these together and would be very grateful if you could make those one or two little clicks to show your support. Now, on with the show. You grew up in Mankato.
Yeah, I grew up in Mankato.
When growing up, did educator and social media influencer, was that like at the top of your career wish list?
Oh, no.
I mean, social media didn't exist.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. I think I had MySpace at the end of high school.
Okay, all right.
I was ICQ. Remember ICQ? Mm-hmm. No, I was in theater. I was on the speech team, debate team. So some element of public performance is always like an interest of mine, but I just didn't know that there were. I think I wanted to be the press secretary to the president was my dream job in high school.
That's really specific.
I watched The West Wing a lot. I thought it was a really cool job.
Oh, I mean, that show was amazing, and maybe, probably, I mean, it showed the warts and all, but probably glorified some of that stuff. Yeah. Hanging out with cool, attractive people all day long. Solving the world's problems.
Well, I mean, you could, it was a thing where you debated people for fun, and it was like doing it for a good cause, that all that appealed to me.
Yeah, and Aaron Sorkin's words are coming out of your mouth the entire time.
Exactly. It would be better.
Who doesn't want that? Yeah. Did you have an interest in like media and history?
Yeah. Media for sure. History, no. But media was always something that I was passionate about. I was a geeky high schooler. I listened to On the Media on NPR, the show where every week they analyze what the media has done. And I listened to a lot of podcasts, but I had a lot of friends who were creative, friends who were in bands, but I wasn't musical. I did theater. I don't think I was particularly good at it, but I knew how to carry myself on stage, and so I think that went a long way. Mm-hmm. Once it got to college where people were seriously pursuing it as a career, it quickly became evident this was not my future. So no, it's hard for me to remember what it was. I think the thing that I was most in awe of is a teenager was that there was this next part of life where I could do anything. That my whole life I just had to go to school every day, and now I could just move to France or I don't know where. Right. And that was really interesting and appealing and attractive to me, and ultimately what I ended up doing.
You didn't feel like you knew what you were going to do, so you're just like, we're going to take life as it comes?
A little bit. Like I went to college at St. John's University. I was like a pretty heavily Catholic kid in high school, and so that was very appealing to me at the time, and that would fade. But the driving thing for me was just go to college because it's what you do after high school. And then when I got there, like, what do you want your major to be? And I really enjoyed media classes. Like, I was interested in the media stuff, so I did communications, but there's no plan.
Yeah.
I got to the end of it, and I'd found filmmaking and videography, taking some videography classes, and I thought, okay, I'll be a video editor, and did that for a while. And then that was not a good job for me. So then I went to Star Tribune, and I worked on digital marketing for a while for them, trying to make my way up to be a journalist, I guess. Mm-hmm. In hindsight, I don't think I would make a good journalist in hindsight of print journalist. Like, it's not.
Well, maybe not print, but one would argue you probably are a bit of a journalist now.
Yeah, I definitely have found a way on video, but like print specifically, it requires a certain level of detail that I'm not. I don't think in retrospect would have been great, but I was hopping around. I finished college, the whole economy was collapsing.
And then you moved overseas, right?
Well, yeah, that one led to the other. So I finished. I was trying to find what my path was. I was working at these, jobs that didn't have a lot of future in them because literally, like one job, the ad agency I was at went through massive layoffs, and then the newspaper, the Star Tribune, when I was there, went into bankruptcy. So there was no future at these places. And I'd studied abroad in Ireland back in 2006. I really connected with the place, and I didn't want that to be the end of my experience with Ireland. And so
Where were you in Ireland? Sorry,
I was in a little town called Spittle, which is outside of Galway.
Oh, I know Galway. Yeah,
Yeah.
I've been there. It's
Yeah,
beautiful,
so Galway is already out there. It's like
Spittle.
So Galway's the Gaeltacht. It's the Gaeltacht is like the Gaelic-speaking region of Ireland, and then about 20 minutes west of Galway is Unspedale, which is Gaelic for hospital.
Okay.
And that's where they filmed the Gaelic soap opera. I was in the middle of like the most authentically Irish of Ireland. And my grandfather's from there. I'm named after him.
Oh, no kidding.
John Francis O'Sullivan is the name of my family that's gone back for a long time.
That's awesome.
So I applied for citizenship. It's a multi-year process, but if you're third generation, you have birthright citizenship. So it took about 2 years. I studied in 2006. I got the passport in 2008, and I lost my second job in a row in 2009. And all those things kind of came to a confluence, and I moved to Galway to do God knows what.
A lot of cowboys in Galway. Like country music was big there. I remember that was surprising to me.
There is there was, at least when I was there was a cowboy bar over there. I think there's a fascination with American culture in Galway in particular, because in the West, because Shannon Airport was a stopover point for all the airplanes when they flew to Europe. They'd have to refuel in the West. And John F. Kennedy famously went to Galway as well, and is well known for that. So
I think I remember going to like a cathedral there, and there's a whole portrait of him in like one of the churches or cathedrals there. I'm like,
yeah,
why is Kennedy's bust or painting here? Yeah.
I mean, there's such like a history, and anyone who is of Irish descent who has done any like study on this knows like Irish racism was a big deal in the 19th century, and it feels so far removed today because today there are 80 million Americans of Irish descent, and there's fewer than 8 million Irish people. I think there's 4 million Irish people.
Funny,
which is crazy. But for a long time, they were the new immigrant class who were discriminated against, and they were depicted in these kind of racist caricatures as little leprechauns, mischievous, uneducated, dirty. And then over time, Irish people started to find their way into positions of power, and so it started with like a state senator, and then it became a U.S. representative and a U.S. senator, and by the time John F. Kennedy became president, he's the first Catholic president and the first Irish president, and that made a lot of difference for the people of Ireland as well.
Yeah, no kidding. So from Ireland, why don't you pick up the rest of your story?
So I went to Ireland, didn't know what I was going to do. I was just kind of going to wait for a year for the economy to get better. And at the end of that year, I thought, okay, it's time to go home. And so I booked a flight to see some friends of mine who were living in Austria. And I was going to go see them, move back, get my stuff, move to the States, and then continue with my career. And the night before my flight, a major volcano erupted in Iceland that grounded every flight in Europe. Major news back in 2009, 2010. And so I couldn't go there, and I had a week of vacation booked. And so I thought, where can I go without like having to fly? And there are ferries that leave Ireland, one that goes to France and one that goes to this place called Wales, which I was ignorant of at the time. I just knew nothing. I think I'd heard of Wales as a concept. I didn't understand it was a country. It was part of a country, the United Kingdom. But I thought, I don't know French, but they speak English in the UK, not understanding that Welsh is a language. And so,
but they'll understand you there.
Yeah, I took the ferry over to Holyhead, which is in North Wales, and landed there. And then it's this whole other language going on there. Made my way through, got a bit drunk at a backpacker hostel, and asked if they had any jobs going, and they did, and I got it. And so I started working as a night porter, so basically the overnight guy at a hostel from like 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. was my shift.
How, was that a crazy job, or was it?
Yeah. It was a crazy job. It was crazy. Doesn't even begin to describe it. Like, for one thing, there's this huge 150 bed hostel that I was the only person in charge of for 8 hours, which is like a kind of insane amount of responsibility to put on a 22-year-old.
Yeah.
They also had a liquor license that allowed me to serve people 24 hours as long as they were residents, which meant that I could get up to a lot of mischief after hours. So lots of, lots of crazy parties happening over that time, and that's also the place where I met my wife, which I wouldn't know at the time. We wouldn't date for another 4 or 5 years, but I met her. We got to be friends, and I also met a tour guide who came through every 2 weeks on a bus with a group of 50 people, and it just seemed like such a cool job. I would watch her. Her name was Greta, and she would bring the group in, and she'd be telling people what they're going to do. They're going to go to dinner later on. Everyone check into the rooms, and she'd have a clipboard. Then they'd go off. I'm like, this sounds great. So I asked her, how do you get this job? And it was almost like well, you just apply for it, dummy, kind of answer. So I did. I applied for this job. It was a company called Busabout, and they did hop-on, hop-off bus tours through Europe. They gave us a 6-week training trip, which was actually not only was it unpaid, they made us pay to go on the training trip.
For 6 weeks.
Yeah.
Wow.
I think it was only I don't know, 300 pounds or something I had to pay to do it, but they were looking for skin in the game to make sure we weren't just going to go on a free ride and not do the job.
Yeah.
So it was crazy experience of, I'd be on a bus with 50 people all learning to be tour guides, and we'd be going from, I don't know, Amsterdam to Berlin, and they'd be quizzing us along the way. They'd be like, John, give us a spiel on Czech language. Marty, talk to us about Italian history. Daniela, you're going to share with us about the Spanish Civil War. Mm-hmm. And then we'd have to get up and just extemporaneously talk on a microphone about this. And if we didn't know about it, we'd have to go research, and we were supposed to come prepared. Of course, we were doing this, and then we'd get to the city, and we would have to do all of this research inside the city. And we'd run around to the museums, get the latest prices, hours, and then our assignment was to email everyone else what the newest information was. And then we would maybe go to sleep at 2 a.m. because there's a lot of work. And then they'd wake us up at 5 or 6 a.m. to then go to Vienna or wherever. Mm-hmm. And so it was this boot camp style thing. You'd be falling asleep. They'd hit you in the back of the head to wake you up. But it was incredible training.
Yeah. What's wild to me is that you met your wife, and you're technically in this room because a volcano erupted in Iceland.
Yeah.
If that volcano wouldn't have erupted on that particular day or week,
yep,
your life would be different.
My wife would have been in the travel industry. One of the things that I don't quite know how to classify this. It's not a religious belief, but it's kind of a spiritual one. Is that the universe pushes us in certain directions, and we can go in that direction, or we can swim against the tide. But you should just listen to where it's pushing you. And so when I lost 2 jobs in a year and got an Irish passport, it felt like there was something that was supposed to be happening.
Yeah.
And this was what happened. And it happened a number of other times in my life as well, where just recently I felt called to come back to the U.S. and I've come back now. And there are certain moments when it feels like my life is supposed to go in a direction and I'm meant to take a leap. And I try to listen to those things.
Yeah, I believe that too. I think the universe can conspire to work for you if you're open to it.
Yeah.
Those people that shut it down and they don't listen, mm-hmm. Might never get there. But yeah, I'm not very spiritual either, but I've seen that happen to me mm-hmm. dozens of times, where if you're just open and you're trying and you pay attention, yeah, you can find that next step just sitting there in front of you.
Because it's just as easy to reverse engineer it.
Yeah.
I mean, that volcano. If not for that volcano, I wouldn't have met my wife and been in this position. But then maybe this other woman would have come, and I would have this other amazing life as well. And so it's I try not to get to the point where I'm mythologizing that only these perfect set of things happened, and that's the only way I'd be happy in life now.
For sure.
But it is still interesting to think about.
Yeah. We can get to the multiverse pretty quickly. But
yeah.
we won't go there today. So tell us a little bit about, you spent some time in Australia, and then the origin of 1 Minute and kind of that mm-hmm. evolution there.
So, yeah, I mean, to get there, just to quickly go through it, I was a tour guide for a number of years, worked for all these tour companies, got a lot of experience on my belt leading groups of 30 to 50 people through European capitals. And my future wife, moved out to be with me in London, and then she moved back to Australia, and I moved back with her. And I thought that I wanted to keep doing this thing, but I was going to a strange land, a place that I wasn't going to have a lot of authority there, at least with any other company. No one's going to hire an American with this accent to be a tour guide in Australia. And so I started my own company. And this is another thing, I got there and I wasn't allowed to work for 90 days because I had to wait for a certain visa to expire. And so it just was like, all right, this is what's supposed to happen. I have an incubation period. And so I spent 90 days researching. I spent half the time in the library, like literally reading everything I could about history. And on day 91, I gave my first tour.
Yeah. And then how did the locals take to an American down there?
My marketing plan was to target internationals, so I kind of avoided that for the most part. Now the business continues to operate. It has a lot of locals on there, and I've moved along and earned my stripes as a Melbourne local after living there for a number of years. But early on, the secret of being a tour guide, I think, is that the facts don't matter. The information is irrelevant. The thing that people are looking for a tour guide is a sense of belonging, a sense of representation of like, this is what this place is. And so if you can give them that, it doesn't matter that this building was built in this year. It's, hey, let's go talk to my friend, the barista at this cafe. And that means a lot more to people.
Yeah. Do you think that's like people want to kind of absorb the culture and the vibe, maybe more than the facts? Like they get to know a place is more than numbers and dates.
I think you just like that feeling of when you go to visit a friend in a city and they're like, oh, we're going to go to a house party later. And it's a thing that only they knew about.
Right.
And then they say, oh, we're going to go to this cool kebab shop or whatever. And they're just showing you their life. It's not like a commodified tour product where you're seeing the top sites of whatever.
Right.
It's that feeling of having a local friend. It's such a better way to see a city than to go on a double-decker hop-on, hop-off bus.
Right. They're pulling back the curtain a little bit for you. Maybe it feels a little bit more earnest.
Yeah, and it's like it lets you experience, lets you feel, what it's like to actually be, live there. That's what I want when I travel.
Yeah, and then you were telling me a little bit about how the some of the pitchforks came out for you. Do you want to share? You want to share that story?
So I had my business shut down because of that whole pandemic thing. And
Australia was pretty severe about their rules.
Yeah. Melbourne in particular was one of the most locked down cities in the world. I believe it was like, was it 180 or 260? I can't remember. It was a lot of days of lockdown. We couldn't go more than 5 kilometers from our house, only with one person at a time who lived in our house. It was $3,000 fines if you were caught on the spot. So it was a severe lockdown, but because I had a business doing walking tours, I had a business permit that allowed me to continue doing marketing activity. And so I just thought, I could do video versions of my tour. And so I tried a bunch of versions of this, and eventually I found some success. And that success led to pitchforks, like you said, because as I had a lot of eyeballs watching me share about the best tips and tricks and secrets and histories of Melbourne, people were saying, hold on a second, why is this guy out when he shouldn't be? They didn't understand that I had a business permit and that there was permitted activity, or I don't think that was the point. Maybe they understood it. The point was, we're all stuck in our house and this guy gets to go out.
Right.
Emotionally, that felt wrong to people. And so this thing that had started out very successful, the comments online started getting very, very intense, to the point where people started calling in the health department and reporting my business for being out of compliance, and people were doxing my company's name by having URLs that had my company's name, and they were just doing it to troll me. And it got really intense because I was new to attention online, and I thought, the way I'm going to approach this is I'm just a person. I'm not some figure. So anyone who says anything to me, good or bad, I'll respond to, because I'm just a person.
Right. And
as the bad comments got like higher and higher in quantity, the need to respond to them got to be more and more demanding, until my wife came back one day and saw me like on the couch, like sideways, like trying to type something and looking really grumpy. And she said, "What's wrong?" And I said, "There's someone wrong on the internet and they have to know." Right. He thinks I'm breaking the law, but I'm not. And I need to tell him all these. And everything I would do to defend myself online would make me look more guilty. I was just speaking too much to it. Yeah. And so I've learned in time that that's actually not only is it not healthy for me, it actually doesn't accomplish my goals of, putting out a good message.
Yeah. I found too, intentions rarely matter on the internet. Mm-hmm. You can try to do something really positive and good, that's your intention. But if somebody takes a different direction, that's hard to get back from.
Well, there's a power in the anonymity, right? Like when you are anonymous, and I do it too. When I watch a movie, I'll be hypercritical of it in a way that I would never tell that filmmaker to their face, because I don't know the filmmaker. I'm interacting with a piece of art, and that's something that I've had to get comfortable with. Is that the videos that I produce have my face in it. They bear my likeness and they have my personality on there, but they are external to me. They are like a commodified thing that exists in the world, and I don't get to control how people react to that thing.
Yeah, that's good to have a little bit of that aesthetic distance too, because if you every time somebody criticizes one of those videos and you feel that personally, that's going to really wear you down. It's going to be hard to keep creating, right? So you got to build that moat, right?
Yeah. I think just this week I had a video go semi-viral. I think it's got like 70,000 views last time I saw it. It was a video that took place in uptown Minneapolis. And that got a lot of people out saying, "Oh, so dangerous, don't go there." And then other people said, "No, it's not dangerous." And then other people said horribly racist shit. And people said, "Oh, you're an idiot." And it went back and forth. And that stuff, it's like just par for the course for the internet. It just kind of, I look at it and I'm like, just, kind of roll my eyes at it. The thing that stings the most is like someone said this week, "You're stupid and ugly." No context. No, what you said was just you as a person, as a human being.
Yeah.
I need to stop what I am doing right now. It's important that you know that you are stupid and ugly. I don't know why it didn't like, sink into the level like I felt it internally.
Yeah.
But it did. It's the one comment beyond all the terrible rhetoric around politics and race and all this stuff. It was the stupid and ugly, like the second grade taunt that got me.
It probably was like a 7-year-old posting it too.
Maybe you might be giving them too much credit.
With that level of vocabulary, yeah, probably was. Yeah, but I would imagine if you yourself feel like that playground kid that's getting, made fun of or bullied a little bit, and like, what's wrong with me? But yeah, that's the internet.
I mean, one of the things I learned about being a tour guide is I had to get very comfortable with looking like an idiot. I've been bringing a group of 40 people through London and be in Trafalgar Square. And I worked for a company that they did tips-based tours. So I would only get paid in tips at the end of the tour, which could be incredibly lucrative. I made so much more money than any other licensed blue badge guides in London. Because think about it, if you have 40 people and you average £10 per person as a tip, £400 is a lot of money and a lot more than you'd make on a 3-hour gig anywhere else. But in order to get that, you needed to make sure people didn't walk off. So I would jump up on some random pedestal that was in the middle of Trafalgar Square. Tourists would be looking all around. Who is that guy? I'd be gesticulating wildly to get people's attention. I needed to, at every single moment, make it like keep looking. Right. And that was like a good training for me to not worry about what I looked like, so that now when I'm walking around holding this gimbal with the microphone on, and I'm very like a lot of movement in my videos, it's because I learned to just stop caring about how it looked, because who cares?
Yeah. Did your videos start to really pop off in Australia, or was it more so when you came back here?
Pretty much immediately, everywhere I've done it. Like that's been kind of the.
That's a testament to your talent, then, I would imagine.
Sure, thanks. I think that the format as well is like one that it connected immediately, and what the format is, like, I don't know if it's recognizable when you see them, but for me, it's very clear. The format is unbroken take. I leave in all the ums and ahs and mistakes. I try to pop into frame, like, so it's something immediately like surprising, and then I move all the time. So I never stay in one place unless I have a very specific reason to. And I'm trying to make it constantly dynamic. I try to start with a good hook, a first line that will get you in, and then I spend the next few lines, diving a little bit deeper into it. And so by then, hopefully I've caught you, and then I can, take my time for the remaining 40 or 35 seconds to get to the meat of the story. But if I haven't caught you, then at least I'm walking around a place that you know, and you can be like, "Oh, downtown Minneapolis, right. Times Square, Golden Gate Bridge. I know these places. I want to see them, even if I'm not interested in talking to the guy." And so that format, I think, connects with people in a real way. And so Yeah.
Well, it's the same reason why, like on TikTok, you'll see the ladies putting on their makeup as they're telling a story,
Yep.
because it gives you a little bit more something to grab onto versus a talking head.
You don't know what the name of that is? It's the name of those videos.
No, I don't.
GRWM. Get ready with me. Hashtag GRWM.
All right.
It's a whole subgenre.
It really is. Yeah, I know ASMR is another. Yeah.
Yep.
I'm, I've of the generation where I grew up without the internet.
Yep.
But I've been, kind of a native since the 90s. But it's so hard to keep up with it.
I mean, yes, but the thing that is most interesting about the generation behind us, about Gen Z, is the way that they have reacted to millennial generations. Like, everything's perfect and Instagram made all our photos look right. Now it's the opposite of that. This is raw, this is organic. People like it, and that's one of the ways that I think my videos have worked, is that I'll cut into the video in the middle of a word sometimes. I'll make mistakes. I'll be authentic and real, but then it's like an Occam's razor, because then at some point, like, it's a game of who can look the most authentic.
Yeah.
And then is that the thing that we're just trying to, like, are we representing authenticity but not actually being? And then it's a mess.
Yeah. It's fascinating.
Currently, I'm fighting a little bit of a hangover today because I went to Porzana last night.
I don't know that.
It's where the Bachelor Farmer used to be. And it's Argentinian steakhouse.
Oh, boy.
Oh, my God. Really good. Really, really good. And the cocktails were strong and mini.
Yeah. Yeah. And then probably not a cheap night either.
Well, luckily I wasn't paying for it. So it's one of the benefits of my day job is I get hosted by suppliers who want me to buy things from them.
Smart.
So
all right. Yeah, you found the right thing.
I'm working on a free hangover right now.
I'm not sure we've really shared what 1 Minute Tours is. You want to give us kind of the elevator pitch?
It is a fast story, a quick, accessible story that helps people appreciate the places that they live. And so that's a very broad brush, but intentionally so. So sometimes it is history, which is why a lot of people do think it's history. But sometimes it's a restaurant they're like Porzana, or sometimes it's, hey, why are the streets named like this? Like, we have the alphabetical streets in Uptown Minneapolis here, and so I've
Grape Street. I saw yours on Grape Street the other day.
Yeah. So I'm working on getting through the whole alphabet of why are these all named the way they are.
Well, and I never knew that the Twin Cities was not Minneapolis and St. Paul first. It was Minneapolis and St. Anthony.
Yeah,
right.
I mean, if you just think about it for a few more seconds, like, of course, like, St. Paul is forever away in a time when it's like horse and buggies, right? Like, why would that be the Twin Cities? Like, it's across the river.
Yeah, it's probably farms in between at that point.
Yeah,
or something. Yeah. I would imagine you probably get recognized out on the street.
Yeah.
Now. What was that like the first time that happened?
Surprising, exhilarating, amazing. Like, it's great. It was in Melbourne, and it was actually we all just come out of lockdown, and so I was at a bar, and someone saw me there, and I'd been counting down the days till we were out of lockdown because they'd announced that this is X number of days and then we'll be done. And so I'm like, lockdown's almost over. Here are the bars you need to go to. And so it was a natural that I would then have the last day be at a bar.
Yep.
And I was there, and all these people recognized me, and they were all 20-year-old guys. And it was like, oh, weird. Good.
Yeah.
It's just like, that's TikTok's audience, especially. This is back in like 2020, 2021. And so the audience has now gotten much more saturated and not as young. But that was the first time. And now it's every time I leave the house, which is crazy.
How do people react to you? I mean, like, is it like a celebrity type style, or do they feel like they know you because you do such a personal, like, earnest thing?
It's like it's like a celebrity thing. It's like the way people sometimes approach me. It's like, oh my God, I can't believe you're here. You're at my bar, at my restaurant, my whatever. And it's just, funny to me because I'm just like the guy uploading videos in my underwear. It's like, it's not like it's some big production. It's just me doing these videos. But that's the interesting thing about this, like, media landscape that we live in, is that people are flipping through videos on TikTok and they're seeing, Jason Kelce and Taylor Swift, and then they're seeing the nightly news, or they're seeing their favorite influencer out of LA, and then me. And those people have the same real estate on the screen.
Right.
And so I remember one time in Northeast Minneapolis here, I passed a coffee shop and a guy saw me and he, like, jumped up, he knocked his chair over and he ran out to say something. And it's become the thing now that, like, I love it. I think it's amazing. I find it, like, really, like, genuinely moving to, like, that I've created something that seems to connect people enough that they want to say hello. My wife, on the other hand, and my sister and my whole family is like, oh God, like this guy needs a bigger head.
Right.
So,
well, I'd imagine though, because you are expanding your sphere of influence and you're in front of people, some opportunities have probably come to you because of that too.
Yeah, a little bit. I've kind of ignored them in maybe ill-advised way. So I opened up an email account, john@oneminutotours.com, just to see, if it would turn into anything. And the emails have started coming like to an overwhelming degree. And stuff like, we'll send you tennis shoes, and then you can put a affiliate link, and you get a commission off these things, and none of them seem to connect.
Yeah.
And so I just stopped. And I stopped even looking at the emails, just let them pile up for a year. And I just ignored them. One of the biggest hacks I learned in business is that email can be ignored. I mean, it's not advisable. There's a lot of reasons why you shouldn't, but I own a business, and I've taken a not terribly active look at email on my business every single day, and the business still operates and it's still profitable. My job is not to answer email, right?
Right.
And so for 1 Minute Tours email, I just shut it down because I wasn't interested in these small opportunities. Now that I've grown to the scale where it really seems to be going somewhere, I've started looking at these opportunities again, and real opportunities, interesting things have happened. So I've currently just signed a deal with a local nonprofit who's hosting Doors Open Minneapolis, which is this big event where they have people, they basically open up all these buildings you wouldn't normally be able to go into for one weekend. And so
it's perfect for you.
It's exactly my brand.
Yeah.
So they reached out, and we had a conversation back and forth about working together. I said, for me to do this is a commercial opportunity for me. And I was kind of wincing and waiting for them to be like, never mind. And they're like, oh yeah, okay.
Yeah.
And so I've only just very recently realized that I could probably make more opportunities happen here. I just haven't been doing it.
Yeah.
So.
Well, it's probably good that you've waited a little bit because you've, maintained the integrity of your, brand, quote unquote.
Yeah. Well, but now it's like I can't turn my brain off. I just finished I couldn't help myself. I did like a PowerPoint presentation to myself just because I wanted to externalize these thoughts in my head about where I want this account to go to and the direction I want it to be in. Because now that I've started to get some revenue off this thing, I'm like, could this just be my thing? Could I just do 1 Minute Tours and have that be like my job?
Yeah.
Because it's not right now.
Right.
When people see me in the street, they don't always realize that. They think, this is all I do. But I have a corporate job that takes up a heck of a lot of my time.
Yeah.
In addition to family life and 2 kids, and I've got a business in another country. And so I've got very little time to do this. But, as soon as it turns into a business case, it suddenly becomes a lot more interesting.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, and the digital landscape because you've been doing it so well. So it's probably just effort. Right?
Yeah,
at this point?
well, it's effort, and it's also I have to figure out exactly what I want to be, because right now I'm very well known in a very small market, but people have done very well for themselves just being in that market.
Niches are good.
Do I want to just be the Minnesota guy? That could be great, or can I take this concept to other places? I haven't quite figured out what the answer to that is. Initially, I thought, look, the concept for 1 Minute Tours began when I realized that I had a 3-hour walking tour that I gave, and TikTok's videos were limited to 1 minute. So I just did some very complicated arithmetic and realized that I had 180 1-minute videos that I could do. And so that was a very simple starting point. Well, I used to be a tour guide in Europe. I used to lead tours through 26 countries and many, many more cities than that. You could fly me out to Europe for pretty cheap, put me in all these capital cities, and I could go get dozens and dozens of 1 minute tours as I go. And I've been experimenting a little bit with that. Over the last year, I've done videos in Vienna, in Anaheim, in Warsaw, in Dallas, in Melbourne, in Sydney, and in Montreal. And I'm trying to see if this works in other places. I haven't quite figured out what the formula is yet, though, because I'm not known in Montreal. I can't just do one video and have it be successful.
Well, and it's probably wouldn't work if you have other people doing it.
Yeah, no, definitely not. It has to be me doing it. I tried having other people do it for a while. It was a hard no thank you for my audience.
Yeah.
When you look at the view count.
Outside of cloning, you're a little bit limited to what you can do. Yeah.
I used to think that. I used to think that I was limited by just having to be me, but I've started to turn around on that now. Like that's also a moat that I have, right? I'm the only person who can be me, and I'm the person that seems to be having this audience. That I'm having this resonance with an audience. So while it is a limiting factor, it also in what ways can I offer myself, not just on the platform, but in other places, and create experiences for people. That way.
Well, I mean, with the rise of parasocial relationships, you have a relationship and you've proven to be able to build relationships with audiences. So that's your superpower. Why wouldn't you double down on that and go further with it?
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, I did a medium switch, right? I was doing the media. My medium was walking tours. And then I switched over to TikTok and social video. I shouldn't say TikTok. But it was the same content that I was doing in my walking tours, but it just had a different way of accessing it. And so what's the next medium switch that I can do? Could I go back to doing European tours again, but then have my audience come out with me? That's something I've been thinking a lot about, is saying, hey, guys, we're going to go to Europe. We're going to do a week and a half long trip through there. I'm going to be your guide. Come book right over here.
Yeah.
Or could I take what I'm doing right now and put it into a live performance, like a theater piece? That's another thing I've been exploring. So
just copy what Rick Steves does, because he seems to do pretty well with it.
Rick Steves, so he's got, I was just talking about him today. He has guidebooks, he sells tours, and he has his television.
He's a PBS guy for those that don't know who he is.
Yeah, that's right. He's very, very hip with your parents.
Yeah, he's like, he wears New Balance dad shoes. He's not a cool guy, but I think he's the coolest.
But your mom thinks he's like dreamy.
I think he's pretty dope, because he's himself.
Yeah.
And he's so enthusiastic about travel and teaching and getting people to go places, and that's the coolest of them all.
But he also, I am following in his footsteps of how he leverages his personal brand, right? Because people buy his guidebooks, go on his tours, watch him on TV because they are attracted to his approach to the stuff. He is kind of this geeky dude, but they like his approach to it. And I'm doing that. I'm just going in that wake right here.
It's not overly packaged or produced. He seems like a normal guy, and that's enthusiastically sharing his passion.
Have you opened one of his guidebooks before?
Yeah.
So the guidebooks that they have, they appear to be, I don't think they actually are, but they appear to be hand-drawn maps. And so it looks like Rick Steves himself just grabbed a Sharpie and said, let me sketch you out this map around the Trevi Fountain. Go to this gelato place and talk to Maria when you're there. And it's this feeling that we were talking about before that I'm trying to make people feel in my walking tours and in my videos as well, that they are looked after by this person who's in the know.
Yeah. Yeah, there'll be a Rick Steves AI pretty soon. They can put it in your ear, and he'll just
he's a big legalized guy as well.
Is he really?
Yeah, he's got really big in the legalized marijuana camp in Washington. You can see him do all these public speeches. He's like the least likely person you'd think for this kind of thing.
So is he doing it for political reasons, or is he a stoner?
I think he's a bit of a stoner.
No kidding.
Yeah, from the speeches I watched of him.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
that is amazing. It almost all kind of makes sense. Yeah.
Right.
All right. I can't wait to watch his next show.
And so there's a show, but then he also has a tour arm of his business. And I think he started out giving those tours himself. And now he's got tour guides who work for him who represent the brand, because the brand is Rick Steves.
Yeah.
But the whole idea is you go on a trip with this guy. And I feel like I'm pretty uniquely suited to be able to do that with my 14 years of experience as a tour guide. So
Yeah. No kidding. How do you choose which stories to tell?
I don't choose which story to tell. I have life happen, and then I think, I've got 5 minutes. I can do a quick tour here. And so very rarely am I like, I want to go to this place and tell this story. It's more like, I'm going to be crossing the border into Wisconsin. What can I do over there? Oh, they have that whole thing about there's certain beers that are only sold in Wisconsin. Let's talk about that. I can go to this bar and go on Google Maps and looking at where I'm going to be and where there's a cool looking bar along the way. Get in there, film the video, take a few minutes, and then go. Everything on my channel, from the format of the video to the script writing to everything, is built around quantity over quality, because that is the world that social video lives in. And so any video I spent a lot of time on, I was invited by the governor to go to the pheasant hunting opener, and I went down to Worthington, Minnesota, and found this fascinating story of immigration down there. And I made a 10-minute documentary about it. and it was watched by dozens of people. Like, for context, like for me, a video, if it gets less than 10,000 views, it's pretty disappointing in terms of view count at this point in time. This video literally had like 300 views, and it was the most I'd ever worked on a video.
Right.
I'm still very proud of it, but it is what it is.
I've heard that from a ton of creators before. It's often the low effort ones that are just a little bit more real and a little bit more off the cuff are the ones that connect.
So you got to start, and I shouldn't preach. I started with the format first. It's what can I do that works with this format? It's not going to be I'm going to travel to this place to tell this story. It's got to be I'm out here for a few minutes. What can I quickly do research on, write some notes about, do a video, upload it, and move on? Because any more time than that, and I won't be able to do the posting schedule that will allow it to grow.
Yeah, the algorithms reward consistency. Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure.
I've been posting. I'm on an experiment right now. I've been less and less consistent on videos, and over the last month, I've posted 2 videos a day to 3 different platforms. And on Instagram, we've seen our follower count triple in that time. Mm-hmm. So,
yeah, I mean, what's your current take on the platforms? Like, TikTok is great for discoverability and awareness. Insta, has ebbs and flows. YouTube is YouTube. Like, what's your take on where things are going?
I mean, Instagram's very hard to break into. I've really been struggling to get view counts on there. TikTok is a place where you get the most views, but has the least opportunity for like commercial activity on there. There's also the like looming threat of it not being legal in this country anymore.
Yep.
I don't have
because it's owned by China.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly. I mean, they would say no, but yes.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't have an opinion on the platforms is my real answer.
Yeah.
I'm mercenary about them.
Yeah.
There's this thing in the world that now exists, and it's going to continue to exist on whatever social platforms are out there, and I will post on whatever works for me at any given day. I'm agnostic about what platform it should be on, and the thing I'm most uncomfortable about is that I am so reliant on even just this concept of relying on a platform.
Yeah.
That's what I want to get out of now. So that's why I'm interested in what I was talking to you about before, about finding tours or being on broadcast or something else.
Yeah. No, I remember probably 5 or 10 years ago, a lot of businesses were built off of Facebook. And then Facebook made one policy change.
Yep.
All those businesses went kaput.
Yep.
So, yeah, you're smart to want to diversify.
I was a franchisee for Intrepid Travels, the largest adventure travel company in the world, based out of Australia. And I was a franchisee for their Melbourne brands, was Melbourne Urban Adventures. And they did very well for themselves, and they got me a lot of bookings. And then one night, their algorithm changed. They had a partnership with Viator and TripAdvisor, which were 2 separate companies that then merged. And then they stopped prioritizing their partnerships in the same way. And overnight, their revenue was cut some insane, like 60 or 70%, something like that. And like businesses just went belly up almost overnight across the globe. It's like what's that Star Wars line about a million voices suddenly silenced?
Yep.
That's what happens when we rely too much on a single platform, whether it's for social video or for tour bookings or anything. TikTok just saw this with Universal Music, just taking down all the music.
Yep.
You rely on one channel too much, and it can be cut.
Mm-hmm. But we know short form video is not going away anytime soon. It just might move a little bit.
Mm-hmm. I'd say that this is not my original idea. I think Hank Green, who said I heard this from, is like this thing exists in the world and will continue to exist. And the thing that's most definable about it is the discoverability. You open up YouTube and you have to type in where you want to go, or you have to tap on the video that you want to watch. But TikTok just plays the thing that it thinks you want to see.
Yeah.
And that's the unique feature of it, and that's not going to go away.
Yeah. It's pretty amazing how deep they get inside your brain sometimes. It's like, they didn't even know I like this archaic little thing, and somehow they did the math. And yeah.
I mean, and the fact they all say that their microphones and the phones don't listen to you, but they clearly do, because like you'll be talking about some random thing that you've never spoken about or thought about in your life, and suddenly there's a video that's from it. It's the strangest thing.
Yeah, we're all being used.
Yeah.
Just might as well get used to it.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, no kidding. Any favorite stories of any of the videos that you've created? Either like something happened kind of, live, or anything particularly personal or relevant? Any cool things there?
You know, one of the videos that I wasn't really sure what was going to happen. I didn't even plan to film videos on this day, and you can tell from how I'm dressed. I'm like wearing like just this shirt that doesn't really fit me, and I'm wearing it's not a good look that I'm wearing this video.
And it got 18 million views.
Yes, exactly that. Because it was the day after the Justice Department released their report on the Minneapolis police and their like historical and systemic racism.
Yep.
I was reading the report because I thought it was like probably useful for me as a citizen and also as a content creator over here. But then I also saw in the news there was a press release by the police union that came out, and it immediately took an angry and defensive posture towards a incredibly like thoughtful report that like gave a lot of credo to the police and talked about the difficulty of the job, but then also talked about the fact that we are the second most segregated city in America. Minneapolis is. And it was a very nuanced and difficult, and it was one that I think all of us should have had this moment of introspection to not respond and just be like, and just sit with it for a while. Think about George Floyd. Think about the riots, about Philando Castile, and all these names we've heard over and over again, and just absorb it. But before that could happen, it was like the police union saying the Justice Department hates police. And I just was so pissed off about it that I went out and filmed this video, and I just like spoke off the cuff about it, and it went really viral over here. I was a little bit apprehensive of posting it because, you know, hot button issue.
Yeah.
But I think that the edge of anger that you heard in my voice, combined with like the zeitgeisty thing of the report had just been released, led to it getting a lot of play. And I'm really curious to start doing more things like that as soon as I get a little bit more time to film them.
Did you read the comments on that one?
I did.
Yeah.
They were great. They were fascinating. Even the ones that were, you know, in opposition, like it was exactly what the report was supposed to do, which is generate discussion.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Which is like something that we as a people of Minneapolis do, but none of our leaders do. You know, it drives me crazy looking at it's how many years now since George Floyd, and since we all saw this national, global reckoning on what happened to our city, and we swept it under the rug.
Yeah.
What are we doing? How is every conversation on your podcast here in Minnesota about Minnesota stuff not about this thing that happened? I don't understand like how we just like have moved it into the place we don't think about again.
Yeah.
When there's a man murdered in the street, I don't understand it. I don't understand how we have left this like this ellipsis at the end of it of like, all right, so this crime happened, a man was convicted, the end. What are we doing?
Right.
Where is the policy change?
Right,
like what is happening? Like we have this city council, this government that just like treats it with all the passion of like a planning board meeting for housing, and it's you can see me getting more fired up about it as I talk about it, because it's something that like we haven't talked about it enough as a people.
I feel like people don't understand like the systemic and the institutional part, how it's like baked in, and it's not necessarily insidious, and that's why people have a hard time with it, but it is there. And until you actively try to remove it or combat it or bring it into the light, it's not going to fix itself.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that's what you're still kind of mad about.
And let's talk about the thing that we just went over for a hot second. We're the second most segregated city in America. I never go to North Minneapolis in my life. I'm guilty of this. I did a video on it and said, I'm going to go to North Minneapolis more often. I haven't done it. I don't know it. I don't feel comfortable with it. I don't know the places to go. I'm supposed to be the Twin Cities guy.
Yeah.
But like a quarter of our population of Minneapolis lives in a neighborhood that I don't go to.
Yeah.
And that, I don't think my story is unique. I think that most of the people who live in South Minneapolis like me or in St. Paul, they don't go.
God forbid the suburbs.
Right?
Those people are afraid of North Minneapolis.
I mean, that's the thing is like we all are, every day that we live here are being a part of the problem.
Yep.
I don't know what the solution is other than to continue to talk about it.
Yep.
And probably to get out and do some more videos over there, honestly.
Yeah. It's an incredibly vibrant community with some amazing people doing amazing things. And it is a shame that it kind of just gets forgotten. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's right over there. You can see it out the window if you want. Right across the river. Yeah.
But then also, it's so interesting to me. And this is the challenge of working, this not being my main job, is that, it takes a lot of nuance to be able to do it. I don't want to just be this white tourist who goes to the black neighborhood
and explains the black neighborhood.
Yeah, it's like I don't want to mansplain to the black community what their community is, but I also am I'm just talking about this other part of the community as well. So,
time for a collab, maybe.
Yeah, I think so.
That could work.
I'm interested. I went a few years ago to the Carmel Mall. You ever been to the Carmel Mall?
No. Oh, is that the Somali thing?
Somali Mall. Like, we have this huge. One of the things about living overseas, I would tell people I was from Minnesota, and invariably, if it was usually it was in the context of being a cab, because when else do you talk to a stranger about life in the city?
Right.
And that stranger would often be a Somali immigrant, and I'd say Minnesota, and I'd say, "Oh, I've been there.
Right.
My cousin's from there. My brother lives there." And so I've been to this Carmel Mall, which is this vibrant shopping center to go to. And I need to get over there and do some videos too.
Have you been to Hmongtown or Hmong Village?
Yeah, so
those are
good.
great too.
Oh man, so I don't think I did a video on this, but they have the best pork skewers I've ever had.
Yeah,
full stop. They're just amazing, and it's just this little counter that's a bit greasy and sticky, but they serve it to you, and it's dirt cheap and just incredible food.
Yep. I know, it's my favorite place. You're talking about a little bit about kind of the next steps for the 1 Minute brand and the John O'Sullivan brand. Could you give us a little sneak peek at kind of what you're thinking or what you're considering at least?
Sure. I think that I'm looking for ways to continue doing 1 minute tours as videos, but then also what are the ways that I can switch to other mediums? The thing I can't stop thinking about right now is doing some sort of version of live performance. So the thing that we're all talking about right now is the Minnesota flag, and that's the thing that makes my content unique as well, as being Minnesotan. And so I'm currently in the thought process of if I can convert what I'm doing in a 1 minute basis to a 60-minute basis in kind of a live on stage format where I'm talking about Minnesota through the context of this big flag change.
Yeah. What advice would you give people looking to kind of live in that social video world or build a brand or get their topic out there?
Do it. I mean, just stop thinking about it. This is true of any creative pursuit ever. You just have to do it. Do it. If you're watching the thing, do the thing now, because it's just you spend so much time. Is this going to work? Is it not? The only way it's going to get to be the thing that you want it to be is to do it, and for you to put it out there and look at it and be like that, and then you're going to change it. I'm embarrassed by the videos that I did when I first released them, because before these TikTok videos came out, I did a bunch of YouTube videos, and you can watch them if you really must on my YouTube channel, and they're real cringy. It's like me trying to give a tour it was 10-minute versions of what I do on 1 minute tours, but way more boring, way less research.
Yep.
But it took that to get to where it is now.
Go look up Mr. Beast's first couple of videos. Cringy. Post Malone has videos out there when he was first starting. Horrible.
Yeah.
And you see where they're at now.
Yep.
Right? So I agree. Just get started.
Yep.
Get the shit out of your system.
Yeah.
Learn.
The only way you learn is by externalizing it and being like, oh, that's not good. I have to do these things differently. And only in that iterative, sense of producing stuff will you get good. So that's my main advice. Just do the thing and then figure it out as you do it.
Yeah.
Other than that, figure out something that allows you to have a great deal of output without a lot of input, because that's what the system calls for right now. Don't try to create something that the system doesn't really allow for. If you're doing 10-minute epic speeches about something on TikTok, no one's going to watch it. No one's going to watch it. So what are we doing?
Yeah.
Yeah. So think about what is the piece of content that you can put out that both fits in with what the demand is, because these channels, they are your demand, and they're only going to put out stuff that meets their goals. But then also think about what are the things that you can do that make your stuff unique. What is the moat that you have that no one else has access to? For me, I was a walking tour guide. I had 3 hours of content as a tour guide, and that was my moat. No one else is doing that. And that led to so many other decisions. But everyone has one. You are a filmmaker, and you found a way to make this cool space and get all this production stuff that we have out here. That is your moat. And so it's worth having some thought about that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great. And the thing earlier you're talking about too, like the creating less friction just to get stuff done. Like you don't have to make it perfect. Design it so you can produce.
Yep. And I used to be a filmmaker. I used to be doing as an editor, and I did this stuff all the time. And if I were to be doing these videos the way that I would want them to, like they would look like a Netflix travel show or something. They'd have drone shots and all this, but that is not what the demand is right now. Like it is, get as much content out as you can.
Yeah. Are there any tools that you use, or software, or books, even like anything that you can share? Right there. That's it.
iPhone Pro, iPhone 13 Pro. I did splurge on the expensive Pro one with the 3 lenses.
Yep.
Because I have the film background, I like using the different lenses and zooming and seeing what that does, and that's kind of fun. I bought a DSLR early on, and I don't use it because it's just like it's not in my pocket.
Yeah.
Now I use DJI for accessories, so I do have the gimbal. It's small enough that I pack it in the bag that I bring everywhere, and I also have the DJI microphone. And so the microphone, the gimbal, the phone, those 3 things I almost always have with me, so that I can just film a video on the fly.
And then how do you edit?
I don't.
You don't.
I don't edit. I edit all in camera, I should say.
Sure.
Which is that means I don't have any cuts in my videos. So I might film a few times until I get that perfect take that is 1 minute long. And it is like that is also my moat. That is my defensibility right there. Is the fact that I'm pretty good at being able to talk extemporaneously for 60 seconds, kind of hit that 60-second mark, and then be able to elongate or contract it as I need to.
Yeah. Well, I mean, decades of experience leading those tours probably.
Yeah. But and most importantly, like if I spend the time getting that shot just right, it's going to take me another 2 minutes or 3 minutes to get that second shot, as opposed to having to cut a bunch of stuff together. And so to your question, I don't edit because I spend the time on the production side to make sure I don't need to.
Yeah. No, that makes a ton of sense. Do you look at your stats all the time? Are you diving deep into like watch time and like that sort of thing? Have you found that helpful?
A little bit. No, I don't really watch it because there's so many different platforms. I more look at just the view counts on things. It's been really interesting as my Instagram has started to take off recently, seeing that different videos hit differently on different platforms. So that's interesting. I've been using Pillar recently, Pillar.io, Pillar, I think it is, .io. You can find it on my bio, it's the bio link that I have, and they have an aggregated media kit. So you feed in all the different platforms, and it says what the total impressions are across all platforms. And only by doing that I was able to find out that, I've got 18 million impressions that I've got. And that's a much better stat than just TikTok on a Tuesday for a video.
Right, yeah, that's impressive.
I can tell pretty quickly if a video is going to work or not, like within an hour of posting.
Yeah.
You see if it's going. But my newest thing is reposting. So like I never reposted before recently, and it doesn't make sense. Like I was filming a video a day, and when I wouldn't film a video, I wouldn't post it. I wouldn't post anything. And now I haven't filmed a video in a few weeks now. I filmed like 5 videos in the last few weeks. Not nearly my normal output, but we've been focused on repackaging old videos, because even my really good performing videos are like, a small fraction of what my followers are.
Right.
And so most people are not seeing my videos. And so, and then even if you have seen them, you're not going to remember the 1 minute video you watched 2 years ago.
Right. Might have been falling asleep when you watched it.
So I'm finding a lot of benefit from just my content is my commodity, and I can't just use it once. It needs to be reused.
Are you just uploading the exact same video then? And algorithm doesn't care?
Nope. I take I don't have the watermark on. It's the raw video.
Yep.
Right now we're doing new captions as well, so I don't know if the algorithm knows or not. One of the things that we're working on, the challenge that we have, I'm looking for advice, maybe you can help me with it, is establishing a video library, because I need to be able to have the metadata on there of like, is there snow on the ground or not? Right. Is it summertime, right? In shorts, when was it posted? So maybe it was first posted in February of 2021, and then again in March of 2022. So it's due for another post because we haven't done one in a while.
Yeah.
And I need to log that.
Yep.
But I don't want to. I still want to kind of carry the illusion that it's been done recently.
Yeah.
I want it to be a mystery if this piece of content is a new piece or not a new piece.
Well, a lot of what you do is timeless anyway, so it's not necessarily like this. Needs to be time-stamped for a specific date, right?
The one exception is masks. I was over here on Omicron, and so I've been reposting some of those videos, and oh my God, the anti-mask brigade comes out. Take off your muzzle. And then the next video I post, I won't have a mask on. Like, oh, I thought you needed a mask.
Yeah, you can't win.
No, you really can't.
Mm-hmm. Kind of local shout-out section. Any local restaurant or band or store, anybody that you feel like more people needs to know about?
Well, as of last night, I would say Porzana, because they have a really good Argentinian steakhouse in the old Bachelor Farmer building in North Loop. But my big one that I think more people should know about, but I shouldn't spill the beans, but I'm gonna anyway because the guys are awesome there, is Cobble Social House.
I've heard of it.
It's great. It's right next to J.D. Hoyt's, the steakhouse. It's behind like a cobblestone alleyway, and you walk in a door, and it's like this secret speakeasy where they have a cocktail menu, but you can also just be like, I'm looking for something with gin in it that is spicy, and then they'll make something up, and it's the best cocktail you've ever had.
No kidding.
I'm spoiled because Melbourne's one of the great bar cities of the world, and I lived there for quite a while. And every place would be such thought put into what the furniture was going to be like, and the couches or the whatever. And each place had a very it was design focused in it. Mm-hmm. And there are so few bars that have that. And being a big fan of bars, I'm always looking for it.
All right. Well, on that note, thank you for being here. If people want to find you online, there's numerous ways to do that. What's the easiest way?
1minutetours.com. Then I'll spit you out to whatever social media platform you want to use, and it has the links to all of them.
Perfect. Well, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Well, that's the episode, so thank you for watching and listening. We put a lot of effort into producing these, so if you happen to enjoy them, it would mean the world to us if you could like and subscribe on your favorite platforms. Thank you.